The Indian government, after abrogating Article 370 and 35A, changed the status of the state of Jammu and Kashmir and changed it into two union territories. A decision that Pakistan said has been taken blatantly and unilaterally in violation of the international human rights laws and the United Nations resolution. And they say Pakistan maintained that this decision needs to be reversed with the pressure of the global powers. With an ongoing campaign diplomatically, with Pakistan launched against India, unfortunately enough, the global powers did not come outrightly in support of Pakistan, and that is why India did not feel the heat coming in from the rest of the world on the decision it's taken. Now, after months down the line, with Jammu and Kashmir staying in a state of lockdown, staying in a state of curfew, a situation with people going through desperate times and miseries, Indian government has come up with a new decision, and that decision now is related to the identity of a Kashmiri being declared as a Kashmiri citizen. Kashmir, as we know very well, that they already have been suffering for a decade-long struggle for an identity recognition and identity crisis. A very weak position for their identity has been fought for as a part of a struggle, a freedom struggle, that they say that they want freedom and an identity of their own and independence from the occupation forces. They now suffer to another massive decision that is going to further deteriorate the identity crisis that they have been going through for the past over 7 decades. And that is something that is going to raise a lot of concerns. The latest decision that's taken by the Indian government is related to the issuance and provision of domicile that declares anybody as a Kashmiri resident. Initially, a domicile can be given to a person who owns a land or property in that particular area that declares him as a permanent resident of that area, and that is why he or she can be declared as a citizen of that particular place. Jammu Kashmir had the same policy, but now the policy has been changed. Indian government's new directives now allow anybody and everybody who has lived there, served on a government position or any other department for at least 10 years, and even if their children have studied till have given the papers of class 10th or 12th, they are eligible to be given a domicile of Kashmir, basically not being residents of Kashmir, not being Kashmiris themselves, but now being an Indian citizen and have been served in Kashmir or either of the Union territories now latestly declared by the Indian government. They will be allowed to get a domicile of Kashmir. In that way, they will be declared as Kashmiri citizens. Not only that, this law and amendment also signifies that a Kashmiri citizen for now is allowed or will be eligible to apply for the lowest possible positions in the government jobs, that is an assistant or a peon. For that, only Kashmiri citizens are eligible, while on the rest of the posts that are higher positions from these particular posts that I mentioned are going to be open to all of India. It is being said as a very important and a very smart tactical move by the Indian government, because initially, if you remember, when they took the decision of abrogating Article 370 and 35A, the world, including Pakistan itself, spoke only about 370, only about changing the status of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories. Not many actually gave light to Article 35A, because that basically gave the right for them to take this particular decision that they've taken right now. Now, when the decision has been taken, Pakistan again is raising its voice. Pakistan is again taking to the diplomatic corps, going out and reaching out to the world, telling them that this is again part of the same ideology as Prime Minister Imran Khan says, the RSS ideology that has led the Narendra Modi government with an aim to lead India and turn it into a Hindu supremacy state and take it away from the secular state ideology that it started from Gandhi. But now it seems that India is taking the next step forward. Not only has it changed the state of Jammu and Kashmir into two union territories and has not been witnessed or felt the heat by the world, even though Pakistan tried its best on the diplomatic level. Now it is taking the next step forward. One important thing is that we have to see how India has actually kept itself relevant to the world and letting them know, reminded them of its value when it comes to the economic positioning of the country is concerned in relation to how Pakistan has played out on the diplomatic front, which to a great extent has not worked too well for the country, especially on Kashmir. At the UNGA, Prime Minister Imran Khan, when he went, he spoke about Islamophobia and he spoke about Kashmir. He spoke about Islamophobia, stating that the world has actually started declaring Muslims as terrorists, as extremists, as Islamist extremism being tagged next to any other person who's a Muslim or from a Muslim country, which needs to stop. From the West, he criticized the West for that. Secondly, he spoke about Kashmir. He criticized the Indian government for having a Nazis-led RSS ideology and Narendra Modi following that and turning India, shifting it from an ideology of a secular state to an ideology of a Hindu supremacy state where Muslims and other minorities will be dealt with iron hands. On the other hand, when Narendra Modi came, everyone was thinking and of the view that he will be responding to what Imran Khan has spoken about on India and on Kashmir. However, Narendra Modi came and he only said one thing. He talked about how India is progressing. He talked about how India is working on, and in fact, when the world is talking about climate change implications and also steps needed, India has already taken a start to that. And at the same time, he ended his speech saying India is open for business. This term was very important. Again, we did not give too much light to that, only for the fact that probably we were just a little too emotionally driven to fight and raise the voice of the struggle of Kashmir. Economic interest was what India came out again, and that was exactly the reason the economic dependencies, the economic bindings, the economic compulsions that gave the world two very clear pictures. On one side was Pakistan and on the other side was India. India said, our gates are open, you come and do business with us and let's not indulge into things that would hinder this process of economic relations. While on the other hand, Pakistan said that Pakistan is going to protest and in fact also talked about a possible confrontation and an all-out war between two nuclear powers, that is India and Pakistan, on Kashmir. One spoke about a possible war, other one spoke about a possible economic development opportunity. Obviously, in the world of today, economics matter, economic dependencies matter, and that is why the world probably sided on the Indian side in that regard. Because India did not feel the heat back then, it is not even feeling the heat even right now with the latest decision. We need to understand that the Kashmiri people have been fighting for the right of their own identity and independence for a very long time, for decades. They've been fighting this struggle and its struggle continues to go on. But now it seems that that struggle is being outrightly negated by the Indian government only for the fact that it's actually positioned itself in a way that it knows now that the world is not probably going to be giving it too much of a hard time because it's established itself on economic grounds good enough to go ahead and do anything it wants to without being questioned on what it has done. Everyone would call it an internal matter of India. The latest decision taken by the Indian government is actually going to even further hinder the identity crisis of the people of Kashmir, the overall struggle for freedom of the people of Kashmir, and the people who have been under lockdown since last year when those two articles were abrogated, the status was changed. Now, any Indian citizen who has served in Kashmir for 10 years or 15 years, and if their children have given papers of class 10th or 12th, they will be eligible to be given a domicile of Kashmir and declared as a Kashmiri citizen. Secondly, one important part is that the Kashmiris' integrity is also being ridiculed only for the fact that the only provision for the people of or the citizens of Kashmir to apply for government jobs has been uh, limited to either a peon or a junior officer, while the senior positions are open and applicable to all of India. So this segregation and this outright discrimination is certainly not, hidden from the rest of the world. Yet we don't hear any voices coming out other than that of Pakistan. Pakistan has said that this is again another blatant attempt to go ahead with taking decisions that are going to hinder and hurt the people of Kashmir and their struggle even furthermore. They said it is in violation of the Geneva Convention and the United Nations resolution, but that probably seems to be the full stop or the only possible approach that it can go for, because the world right now is not coming forward. And that is where I believe that Pakistan's efforts have been even further limited. And not to forget, after this law even being implemented, there are going to be domiciles issued to Indian citizens. There are going to be people applying for government jobs in India from India, which are not going to be Kashmiri residents or Kashmiris themselves. And that is certainly going to give a lot of rise in number of people settling in the area in Jammu and Kashmir. Down the line, when we talk about our case of right to self-determination, as a lawyer, as an ambassador for Kashmir in front of the world, if we take this forward even further over a decade or something, and then you might see that the Muslim majority state of Jammu and Kashmir might actually turn into a Muslim minority state, or at least it come at par with the Hindus or other religion based Indian citizens, because with these kind of policies being made and domiciles being issued to people who are not even landowners or residents of Kashmir, it is certainly going to create even more trouble for the people of Kashmir, for their fight for identity, for their fight for independence and struggle for freedom. And that is where we as Pakistanis need to make sure that this issue, this pointer, is raised at the highest possible level. We have our own platforms, we should use that, and this voice needs to go out. Till now, unfortunately, we should not be keeping our hopes high that the world would act, only for the fact that even the last time when we tried, when even a bigger decision was taken initially, Article 370 and 35A was abrogated. The world did not come out in clear-cut policy against India, and I don't think even this time around it is going to happen. But yet, the struggle is there. The people of Kashmir want independence, they want their right to self-determination, and they want their identity being given with the respect and dignity. With these policies being made by the Indian government, I believe it is going to further ridicule, insult, and even degrade their identity as Kashmiri citizens, a struggle that they've been fighting for decades. And unfortunately, with what is happening right now, I believe the struggle will not stop and even further weaken down the line. Thank you.